So welcome to our RI4C2 Legacy session. So this afternoon we will focus on the, as the title says, legacy of the RI4C2 project. So presenting our main achievements, results, outputs, and present also what activity are going to be reusable and continue to develop in the EC2U Alliance. But first, let me not introduce this session with words, but with a video presenting our main results. So actually, I would like to welcome on stage all of our VP leaders who will present today. So Ludovic, Ricardo, Daniela, Georges, Dana, and I think we have Vionel and Laura online with us. So I propose that we start with Ludovic and I with Work Package 1 and Work Package 8.
Yeah, well, actually, indeed, you may remember from the beginning that the whole objective of the RI4C2 as a sister project to the EC2U Erasmus project is to develop all the pieces that together will form a so-called pan-European knowledge ecosystem. And you can see actually here, because definitely this screen is too small, at least for me, I'm sorry, my eyes are obviously bad. But we have already seen on many occasions this type of schemes where we see that the pan-European knowledge ecosystem is composed of basically all the actors that we can present locally. And this includes the local authorities, of course, the universities as the core engine, local authorities, innovation actors, all committed to serve the society, the companies, the sponsors. So all this, we want actually to bring them on board and form this so-called pan-European knowledge ecosystem. So basically all what we've been doing during 3 years were step by step to build the components of the pan-European knowledge ecosystem, the PEKE or PEKE, depending on how we want to call it. But yeah, that's the very core of the activities. And among the different activities, well...
So one of our main activities in Work Package 1 was to work on a mapping of all the RNI platform available in the partner universities to potentially to write a roadmap for the creation of a shared RNI platform network within the EC2U Alliance. So what we collected are of course, the platforms are existing in each partner universities, but also we collected information on all the regulations that are in place at each partner universities to kind of know what could be the potential barriers to the creation of such a network. And I'll get into more details to the recommendations when we reach the second part of this presentation.
So we've decided to jump directly to the Work Package 8 because Poitiers was coordinating both Work Package 1 and Work Package 8 so that we only do our duo only once. In the Work Package 8, there were basically, let's say, two main objectives. The first one was to give the possibility actually to also engage in a dialogue with other alliances of European universities. EC2U actually is only one of the today 50, but at the time of the creation of this project, there were only 40 alliances. And the idea was that all what we ourselves build together Probably other alliances are also trying to develop similar schemes, and if so, how can we exchange good practices? But also the idea was, and this was very much also reflected this morning, how we can maybe also serve as a model for others, just like others also served and inspired ourselves. To do so, actually, we have created an informal forum of all the alliances, which is called 4EU, and in our case, or Forum of European Universities. And the 4EU are basically existing in two formats. The 4EU one, where actually all the alliances created and selected at the same time in 2019. And we belong, so sort of say, to the 4EU2, which is the informal group of all the alliances created at the same time as we were created in 2020. So 4EU1, 4EU2. And in the context of the 4EU2, we, RI4C2, were actually coordinating this exchange of good practices activities. So we could say that EC2U has been really pushing this collaboration among the different alliances of European universities. So we had also there a sort of strong role on the scene.
And we had a specific topical group which regrouped all the SWAFs projects from the pilot to from the alliances selected in 2020. And we worked together on 2 joint reports. And we collected case studies to share good practices on 2 topics. The first one was mainstreaming gender equality in R&I long-term strategies. So we collected case studies from 16 alliances, and we identified measures and recommendations to be used as good practices on how to progress on the implementation of gender equality measures in R&I. And the second joint report, which was just finished, actually, concerns progress made in the implementation of R&I long-term strategies, so a more broader approach to what we have done in this 3 years project to foster R&I within alliances. And it's, again, a sort of exchange of good practices on what could be replicated into the different alliances to foster R&I strategies. And here we collected we got 20 different case studies from 20 alliances. Well, yeah, from 20 alliances, indeed. And the conclusions were that thanks to the SWAFs project, we made some rapid progress in implementing some R&I activities within our alliances. And of course, some of those activities will continue to develop as part of our alliances via the Erasmus Plus funding. But the main outcome of this report, I think, is that every alliances reasserted the fact that without specific R&I funding to continue the work that was initiated with the SWAFs project, it will be more difficult to continue developing long-term R&I strategies. And it's the time to build on what we've done now, because let's say it's just a first stone of a much bigger building. So that was the conclusion to this report. And overall, I think with the 2 joint reports, we really show the diversity of practices and activities conducted within alliances and specifically in their SWAFs projects. So I think in RI4C2, we're quite proud to take part in those activities.
And of course, these reports are publicly available, so you can find them on the EC2U website in the section related to the RI4C2 project. So feel free to consult, because there are a lot of inspirational cases so that our universities can make progress in those topics.
So thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to Ricardo to present the activities of Work Package 2.
Thanks, Pauline. Thanks, Ludovic. Well, good afternoon. Here on behalf of Raul, which is our vice director and the leader of WP2, really, and both the 3 of us, Raul, myself, and Jorge, are the, together with the coordination team, are really the ones that are trying to develop this common RNA agenda, which is the title of the WP. That was a proposal which is at the same time and sharing with you politically sensitive and a work that had to, be done in terms of generating a consensus. And as we were talking in the room, that not all alliances, have succeeded in managing this, and was something of a challenge, which we are very happy to have we've learned a lot while doing it. So to cut a long story short, the path was, it started by a mapping, a questionnaire throughout the alliances on finding out what would be the research interests and capacity building. Then, together with the second step was a mapping. So we kind of developed a mapping of recollecting information through the coordinators, through the contact points of the universities. What are the research structures? That also fed, in collaboration with Pavia, in the Connect Center. We realized that the granularity of that information is relevant. It's not really only to identify doesn't serve to identify researchers. We then moved on to the more political framework with the contacts with the vice rectors and research offices of research to find out what would be their interests and how we would, communicate. And those were done individually on site with them and with the research offices. We then moved on to, build that on a report. So all of these were, deliverables while on progress. We then got to the point that I don't know if, and then then obviously that was based on a confirmation of focusing on the scope of SDGs. So then that was the scope of work. That was already 3 virtual institutes established, and we had the proposal to establish at the time 7 new virtual institutes. In the meantime, Linz enters the equation, the consolidation phase, and then that number still remained the same. After all those conversations and the meeting in Poitiers and so on again, also started the conversation, started on the virtual institute, started in Coimbra. So all of these steps go towards the same goal. And on the end, what we got was the consensus that we're going to create another 4 or divide, conform 1, which I don't know if you see the first one that comes from out of EC2U, which is the Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions. That will be a virtual institute. Already in EC2U, we're going to split modern languages and quality education in education sciences and modern languages. And there will be the creation of a totally new ones, which is the life on land and materials and methods for sustainability. And on the end, what we have agreed, or what the vice rectors agreed, is on a system of leadership and co-leadership of those virtual institutes. So, so that's the agenda. That's where we are now. We're on the process of closing that and establishing and identifying the researchers and the leadership for those virtual institutes for the new ones. Right, and the output can be shown here temporarily on the timeline. That we had these bilateral meetings were very enriching in terms of knowing what the priorities of the universities were, and then proposing these solutions and proposing the creation of these virtual institutes that we are really willing to support together. So, in terms of a draft of what has been WIPI2 or RNA agenda, that's what we would say, and would pass on the mic to the next.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. And now we will move on to Work Package 3, EC2U People Empowerment, with Georges from the University of Coimbra.
Hi, thank you. What a ride. Close to an end. My name is Jorge Noro, for those that may not know me. I'm here on behalf of University of Coimbra in Portugal, and I am the Executive Director from the Institute of Interdisciplinary Research. Well, we are glad and proud to work here in under this umbrella of this RI4C2, and I'll try to briefly summarize what we did. And of course, I'm glad to share later on further details if you are really interested on what we did under this project. Well, it was all about empowering people. We do it as a mission in our institute and also in the project. So actually what we try to develop, because we were challenged to, when I say we, I'm talking about me, I'm talking about Rita, the local coordinator, with strongly support from our vice rectors from research, firstly Claudia Cavadas and now João Ramalho, which is present, which, well, is very good for us to get this support, this permanent support. As I was saying, we have this mission under the mission of our institute and also under the project. So we try to produce some contents, either digital, for instance, some masterclasses for gender issues, or to contribute to a toolkit for researchers, for instance, as a digital platform operating closely with the work package 4 that Danielle will present next. Or, for instance, just to promote some debate and some reflection on the challenge, the emergent challenges they are raising to our researchers. So we are focused on empowering people, not only the community under the RI4C2, but also our communities back in our universities. I think this was one of the purposes, one of the major goals we reached, and it's very, very relevant. So, yeah, we have this, opportunity to share with you that this project brought us the chance to establish new network, to strengthen some bonds that we already had with some of these partners, and actually to put in practice some of these strategies. We have published and are online available. For instance, those masterclasses on gender is some advice that we took in Coimbra with some special actors, but also from Poitiers, which contributed a lot under this subject. We are now delivering this toolkit for researchers, hoping that this will be useful for our researchers, not only back in University of Coimbra, but for all the communities engaged. And yeah, I think we have these documents that are more than documents. They are eventually effective support for new strategies. So we are available. Please, if you are really interested in what we developed, I will be glad to share later on some more details under this. And hopefully this work package 3, empowering people, is a part of a structural solution that this consortia proposed to be and to deliver at the end of the project we are reaching now. So yes, this is our legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to welcome Daniela to present the work package 4 on EC2U RI platforms.
Thank you, Pauline. Yes, I am presenting the RI platforms on behalf of University of Pavia. It's not really done for people with myopia, because it's quite complicated to read, but next slide, please. So, I have to do it, sorry. Okay, so what are the main results of Work Package 4? Work Package 4 is an extension, I would say, from a technical point of view, of the digital infrastructure of the Alliance, which is AC2U. So what we tried to do in this project was to develop the digital infrastructure in a direction that was more supportive for the community of researchers. That wasn't really the main focus of the first phase of AC2U. So what actually we did in this development was the first results that we had to offer to the community was an analysis of the data dissemination strategy. It seems like a very technical deliverable, but actually it wasn't. It was really important for us because one of the main challenges we have as an alliance is how we can share data because we don't have a common legal entity. So one of our problems is some of the data we produce are available to anyone or should be shared in a common way, but still we have some legal barriers in sharing those data. So how can we develop a common strategy for the data dissemination? And actually that's what was our first analysis. And also we wanted to leverage what we were doing in this project, which was supporting open science and open access. So we decided to work in a direction that followed standards that are compatible with open access in general, not only for the data, but even for the digital infrastructure we have. All the codes we developed for the digital infrastructure of AC2U are available on GitHub, which is an open platform. So any other alliance that would like to replicate our infrastructure can just go there and grab our code and develop whatever they want. So this was exactly the idea behind our data dissemination analysis. Then we increased what we called our knowledge database. We have a knowledge hub in AC2U. It's like a big platform that where we collect all the databases we share together. In this project, we developed two very, very important knowledge databases. The first one was a mapping of the so-called knowledge ecosystems that was developed together in collaboration with our package managed by University of Yash. We tried to collect together with them all the actors that contribute to the knowledge productions in our universities, and we developed a database that allows to, find those data in a suitable way, using geographical mapping or using keywords or using types of stakeholders, filters, and things like that. It's the infrastructure has been developed. Now the problem with those databases, and this is one of the barriers that we encountered and we overcame in partially, I would say, is that the capacity to really map those actors is limited in our universities. It's something that we hope to be able to further develop in the next phase as a legacy, and we will have the opportunity to discuss this. But let's say the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, the box for this is ready. So we are ready for the future developments. And the other database we developed, and I think is really important, is the research and infrastructure database. We would like to have a common repository of all our research facilities, labs, as low as we can go in the granularity of this description. We don't want to do this by hand. We don't want to have big Excel file that a human being has to do. So what we did was really to create informatic pipelines with all the databases, the different types of databases that our universities have in their own digital platforms in order to collect everything under the same roof, in the same house. We also developed the documental repository. This is, I think, a very important database for the future. This was really the research part of our package. We developed a taxonomy for the collection of all the documents that are talking about the researcher's career. So everything from great literature produced in our universities, booklets, governance decision papers. What we really want to do is to grow this database, because in the future what we would like to have is a tool that allows us to analyze what we are doing for the researcher's career in an automated way, maybe using an artificial intelligence layer that will allow us to see and compare compare what we are doing, what are the commonalities and what are the different strategies, and it will foster common policy making. And then, that's mainly the main databases we developed. The last thing is what we are doing right now is we have a whole part of our packages devoted to open access in collaboration with the University of Turku. So as you already heard, we had the opportunity to collaborate with all the other web packages. We collaborated with the University of Coimbra in creating a common repository for all the tools that were developed for the career of the researchers, and we collaborated with University of Turku in having such a repository for everything is related to the practices of open science. What we also did is to open an open science, an open access platform for the Alliance. So now there is a C2U community on Zenodo. We developed it. We are now finalizing, all the administrators. It's the final delivery of our package, so it will be ready in a few weeks. And we will also develop a guideline on how to use it. We hope to be able to collect all the outcomes of the research from our virtual institute, but not only. We would like also to collect all the great literature we are developing together, including our deliverables and whatever is important for the life of our alliance. And finally, that's what you see on the right is exactly the contents of the researchers toolkit that was developed together with the University of Coimbra. So everything is related to mobility, everything is related to the open science practices, what we developed on the doctoral training, all the tools that were developed with the University of Vienna for the Innovation Hub, and our own digital tools for research will be collected in a single entry point on our digital platform. And this is what we did in Pavia for Work Package 4, and we will go on developing this infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela. And now I will welcome Dana to present the activities of Work Package 5, the CTU Innovation Sphere, led by the University of Vienna.
Yeah, so hello, thank you very much. My name is Dana. I'm from the Work Package with the wooden stars that you can see here. I will come to that in a second. The EasyToU Work Package 5 Innovation Sphere. And we've done a couple of exercises, mainly creating a network, having tangible outputs, and also having great events. For the first one, having a great network, we brought together, first identified and then brought together the so-called lighthouses of innovation that are the stakeholders from the innovation sphere, as we call it, the innovation support units, but also innovators themselves. And we brought them together to share their knowledge, to collaborate, to cooperate, to increase their visibility, and also to tell us their secrets. We have one publication, the recipes of innovation, and there you can read all the secret recipes from the lighthouses. We also had online events, we also had on-site events. As I said, we're very happy that also the lighthouses had a meeting here in Poitiers. Thanks again for coming here, and we were looking forward to your contribution later on for the launch of Peke. Yes, and besides the networking and the meetings, the knowledge exchange and the recipes, we also brought the researchers and also the practitioners together talking about innovation. And we have this lecture series, Innovation Sphere, and there are now 6 episodes. There will be 7 shortly, and on all different aspects of the topic of innovation. It's really worthwhile to have a look. And coming to the Wooden Star, the Makeathon, we had the big ones as the awards for our winners, and we really there aimed to foster a culture of innovation within our alliance, so across all the European campus. and also to increase awareness on the social challenges to co-create solutions together. So there was a big event, a big number for our work package with the parallel on-site events and also the virtual events. And all of that followed a particular scheme. And I think you may have already seen that scheme once or twice. But this is really the summary of all our activities, just neatly lined up from networking to collaboration, and now the PEKI, with everything that we've done. And so thanks again for the whole group, the Work Package 5, and the joint initiative. That's,
Thank you very much, Dana. And I think we have online with us Ionel Mengaleciu from the University of Iași, who will present the results of Work Package 6, ECTU Knowledge Ecosystem. Ionel, can you hear us?
Yes, Pauline, loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'll give you the floor right now.
Thank you. So, dear colleagues, first of all, I wish to express my regret that I am not there with you, but with my heart I am there. And I know that we sent let's say, relatively strong delegation there who could represent us with success there in person. The main goal of our work package, actually, I think, do you hear me? Okay, perfect. It was to build and to develop a framework for the local knowledge ecosystem. You know, everybody, that this was actually not an easy task because there are so many actors involved in these local knowledge ecosystems, and also there are differences between country to countries. But I think that due of our efforts, our common efforts, we realized to do this, and we identify the key actors involved in the local knowledge ecosystem, and we establish collaboration tools between the different institutions, and we studied the relations, and we was coming up with good results for future cooperations. Also, another legacy from Work Package 6, it was related to citizen science, and there we identify the so-called champions in citizen science, and we establish a toolkit in order to measure the civic involvement of each actor in this knowledge ecosystem. And because we realized to establish these champions, we bring strong points in the developing of citizen science field. Also, we realized to build free living labs associated with the virtual institutes, of course, and we launch already these living labs, and we was trying to put in these living labs, including that champions that we identified, each of us in our village, in our towns, and of course there was involved also some other local stakeholders from different ecosystems. Finally, I think it is not. I think it's worth to mention that because of the cooperation into the alliance, we realized to make applies from different grants, national or from European unions. And there are, if I remember well, on about 3 grants that we apply for to the European unions, and other 4 from different national agencies. What it is important is that because of the alliance, in this grant proposal are involved different members from our alliance, and also there was established cooperation with some other university from other alliance, as they are, for instance, with Eötvös Loránd, with the University of Dublin, University of Sofia, which is from, I think, TRISC Alliance, or I don't know exactly, but I think this is the acronym of this alliance. So I think these are the main points and the main contribution, very shortly, very briefly, of the team from IAS. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yanel. And now let's move on to Work Package 7, Open ECTU, led by the University of Turku. And I think Laura Niemi, WP leader, is with us online. Laura, can you hear me?
Everyone.
Hello.
So I'm Laura Niemi from University of Turku, representing Work Package 7, Open ECTU. And in this work package, we focus, of course, open science practices, which are really important in case of when we do research and collaborate. Then, of course, we need to show all the tricks, how we do the impressive science that we do in our universities. So the objective of this work package was, first of all, screening existing and emerging open science practices from different universities within Alliance, and then construct this comprehensive understanding of different kinds of open science practices which are currently emerging and which are really important for the Alliance and which could also advance the collaboration between universities. Then when we recognized in this work package these different kinds of open science practices, which are really important and really key to the Alliance, then we started to create new tools to accelerate this adoption of these different open science practices. And we interviewed several really advanced researchers who had made really much this kind of advancement in the by using these practices in their own research. And with this, they are like showcases from the Alliance, and then they are also in frontline on fostering a cultural shift towards open science practices for other researchers also. And in order to mainstream this kind of open science practices, we created a guidebook, which consists 4 majorly important open science practices, and then we created master classes on open science, which are open educational materials for everybody to use, and they can be applied when someone is willing to start using new kinds of practices to do research. And of course, with this work package, we try to empower researchers to use these kinds of new ways of doing research, more open research, in order to also advance the collaboration in research.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Laura, for presenting the activities of Work Package 7. And now let me try, and I will say try, because as you've seen, there were a lot of different activities conducted in this project, and we went really deep into all those activities and aspects of our projects. You've seen citizen science, open science, innovation, the digital environment, the RI agenda, and I think I'm not forgetting anything, the RI platforms, and also the cooperation within 4U2. So I'm going to try to summarize some of the main activities that will live on and that will remain in the EC2U Alliance, even if the RI4C2 project is coming to an end. So first of all, I would like to come back to this report on the creation of a network for shared RI platforms, because I presented earlier on that we did a mapping of the existing platforms, of the existing regulations in each of the partner universities. And we also came up with some recommendations on the creation of such a network. So as a first step, we had some, let's say, light recommendations, which included increasing communication and visibility of the platforms at the local level, but also at the level of the Alliance. So for example, using the digital environment and the researchers' units database to be a place where we can also go further in presenting in details all of the research platforms existing at the partner universities to facilitate contact between researchers and also foster collaborative projects between the researchers of the EC2U Alliance. So that was let's say a first step. And then if we look at mid to long-term recommendations, we focused on the idea of, first of all, also at the local level, the institutional level, for all partner universities to work on the governance and cost aspects of the platforms, because as we've seen in doing the mapping, there are very different level of organization of these platforms at each partner university. So a first step could be to work locally on how to better organize the network of platforms at the local level before we can get to an EC2U network, of course. And to help with that, one main recommendation that is included in this report is the use of the OpenIRIS platform. So it's already implemented at the University of Turku and started to be implemented in Jena with Jena Versum, if I'm not mistaken. So this platform allows to have a sort of open digital library of all the research platforms available at the universities, and it also allows for booking the use of a platform, seeing all the information on the materials available, equipment available, and this could be a real asset to develop such an EC2U Alliance network if all partners were using such a type of platform. But I won't get into much more details into OpenIRIS because we will have a presentation very soon on that. So spoiler alert, you will get more information on OpenIRIS very soon. So that will be, let's say, more mid to long-term recommendations, because of course this needs institutional developments. But then we can reach some sort of agreements between the EC2U partners on having maybe specific connections to facilitate cooperation between researchers to use those research platforms, and also via collaborative projects. So that's something that we'll leave on. We've started the work with those recommendations and with this report. And hopefully with the development of the EC2U Alliance, this can continue to develop and one day maybe reach the creation of such a network. Then going back to the RI agenda, so the activities were presented in details, and of course you understand that the main legacy that will not stop with the RI4C2 project is the joint RI agenda and the creation of those 4 new virtual institutes. So 2 of them are already part of the new Erasmus Plus phase. So peace, justice, and strong institutions and education sciences. and the 2 new ones will incorporate as well. And we're still continuing the work on how to build those completely, let's say, new virtual institutes. But those 4 new virtual institutes will live on with the EC2U Alliance and beyond the RI4C2 projects. Of course, the Researchers' Careers Toolkit will also be there and continue to exist and will be openly accessible. And it will, I think, continue to be fed thanks to the activities of the EC2U Alliance in the new phase and with upcoming activities. And the document that was written by Work Package 3 on the HRS for our reference framework will also continue to be available and relevant for all the partners. Then I don't want to get into much more detail on the Connect Center because, again, we will have a presentation later on. But, of course, the databases will continue to live on and be accessible, especially the one on research centers and units, as I said, could be really useful to develop a network of shared RNI platforms. So those will still be accessible and can greatly facilitate collaborations between our different universities, especially in terms of research and innovation. Then we have also the network of the Lighthouses of Innovation, which is now existing and will not stop with the RI4C2 project. And again, teaser, you will have some more information on that in the next session. And the Recipes of Innovation publication is, of course, remains available on Zenodo. So those are tangible results that will live on after the project. And of course, the identification of the citizen science champions and the creation of the pilot living labs is something that will continue, as Yolanda presented this morning, the different projects that were applied thanks to this work. So of course, let's just say that the ground was set during the RI4C2 project, but that through those different projects, collaborations will continue and the work will continue after RI4C2. Then, of course, the masterclasses on open science are available, and I should say that the masterclasses on gender equality are also available on our EC2 YouTube channel and will continue to be available even if the project ends. And as Soile presented this morning, we also have now an EC2U open science community that researchers can join. The kickoff event will take place on the 26th of September online. So if you scan the QR code, you can already get all the information. And we invite our EC2U community to largely communicate on this to their researchers, research labs, etc. It could be also a really good way to continue to foster the development of open science activities in the EC2U Alliance. And finally, and maybe I'll let Ludovic give a few words on that. No, not necessary. Good. So Ludovic presented before 4U2 and 4U1 for the alliances funded in 2019 and 2020. And hopefully this will be formalized through 4U for All, which is a project that was submitted last February and that could create a community of practice where all the alliances for U1 and 2 and 3 and 4 for the third and fourth waves of financing that came after us come together with a single proposal and single network, which would be 4U for All, with the ECIU Alliance and the EC2U Alliance as co-coordinators. Hopefully we'll get the results by early July. And that will also be a way to continue our cooperation with the other alliances. So here's a broad overview on what we did, what will stay, what will continue. And hopefully we know that that's not just what I just presented. It's a lot of different activities that will nurture the EC2U Alliance. And yeah, let's keep on going, basically. So we can also have some questions from the audience, from the online participants. So thank you all.
Thank you very much for the presentation and congratulations on all the results that you have achieved so far. So I understand that most of the results or key results that you have produced will be integrated in ETCU, right? That's what I understand. But I would be interested to know what challenges you foresee in the integration of those results, if any, yeah? And also, if there is something that you planned to achieve during this 3 years' time and you didn't, if there is something missing, you know, I would be interested to know about the challenges. You know, I can see what you have achieved, which is very good, but now, you know, it's this second phase, how to integrate that in the other, in the alliance, you know, because those are very good results, you know, and it would be a shame, you know, not to valorize them. So what are the challenges? That would be my first question. And second, I'm interested in the, you know, the EU for all, because what kind of call for proposals need to apply for? I mean, I would be interested to know a little bit more. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Jorge, very much for this actually important question that's maybe an opportunity that we also expose to the community, how the RI4C2 project has actually from the beginning prepared the path towards this integration. Because all my colleagues who were involved in the project proposal, so maybe it's good to remember that when that proposal was written, it was actually in fall 21, fall 20, which was exactly when the Alliance officially started with its first pilot Erasmus project, right? Which means that basically we were starting the Alliance and already submitting the proposal to this SWAF's call. But that means that we were already committed to make sure that what we will devise together in this project can feed the future of the Alliance itself. So actually some people may remember that in the proposal we had a schematic that was showing that the initial Erasmus proposal had already set some targets that developed on their own path, let's say. But some of these targets needed further development that was not scheduled in the Erasmus project, and therefore they were included in the RI4C2 proposal. And these are exactly, for instance, the RNI dimension of the Connect Center that also developed in the Erasmus project. That's all about the career development. That's also the RNI agenda. Well, basically all the work packages have been created because we knew that at some point, if we want a full-fledged alliance where all our missions are also developed, education, research, innovation, service to society, we needed them, although they were not yet available in the Erasmus development. And in that schematic, we had actually also anticipated that more or less at the midterm of the RI4C2 project, the first results could be used to prepare the new proposal of the Erasmus phase. And typically, we had already devised some initial potential new topics for the virtual institutes, typically, for instance, the Peace, Justice, and Strong Institution. And therefore, we basically anticipated that we would, of course, and slowly I'm moving toward your question on the challenges, we would then basically in the RI4C2 project build the framework, but of course it will only remain a framework if there is no specific funding to basically then implement already some activities, etc. So basically there was this sort of a feedback loop that helped building the new Erasmus phase, where we know now that we will directly use the results of the RI4C2 project. To be more concrete, all the developments of the Connect Center will be basically fully integrated and will continue to even further develop in the new Erasmus phase. All the career development tools are also the building blocks of a new work package in the new Erasmus phase, which is about career development. Of course, we go further, but we needed these first steps. The virtual institutes, some of them had been, as I just described, basically considered as created at some point and therefore funded by the new Erasmus phase. Other example could be, let me think, I'm looking here, these activities related on how we can build a sustainable network with our external partners, they will be used also with the new associated partners of the Erasmus phase, and so on and so on. So basically, we anticipated that most of these tools would be necessary to continue what will be included, what has been included, and what is now a reality of the new Erasmus work program. So in terms of challenges, for all the parts that we had anticipated, basically now we know they will continue to develop because we have funding lines available. But it's true that some of the results will now need to find some more resources. So these are typically, this is maybe the main challenge for some of these activities that basically have been developed, and to continue to live, we know that we would need extra resources at different level, institutional, national, and European. So that's why we are actually currently very active in also screening the possibilities within the Horizon Europe program. You mentioned, for instance, together yesterday with Manuel, that there will be some targeted calls, for instance, towards talent ecosystems or this kind of possibilities. We believe that we have basically prepared the building blocks to apply to these ones. Then you mentioned what could be what we failed during the project. My first response would be nothing. It's just a totally successful project. But, well, no, of course, there are always things that we could have done, I guess, better, more rapidly. Well, maybe here I will leave also the floor to my colleagues so that they can share also their personal views. I would maybe say that a lot of these activities were awaited by the communities. So therefore, we received, I would say, good responses and also support. It was not so difficult in the end to find the colleagues willing to get recorded or interviewed regarding gender equality in research, open science practices, and so on, because people are really willing to share their experiences. Where it is a bit more challenging, and I'm pretty sure, Ricardo, you will, when we'll pass the floor now, because this is how you started the Work Package 2 description. When it's about touching to research and innovation strategy, for an institution, this becomes sensitive. Because indeed, this is very much related to the institutional strategy, the way research functions. We know that research and innovation, but particularly research, is always considered as a bottom-up approach, where researchers define their topics and basically the institution accompany them. Here, this is an example that we can have actually a successful mix between bottom-up and top-down. We will still rely on the bottom-up approach because we will need individual researchers and groups to be willing to participate to the virtual institutes. But the incentive we will give them is that this is actually probably an enriched cooperation framework that we offer to them, and this is where the top-down meets the bottom-up. But I will propose that my colleagues elaborate a bit more on their... So
Jorge, to start on WP2 and challenges, right? So the point here of Ludovic is quite right. So normally this research thing is quite erratic, and research is self-assembly in a way. And so that is one part of the game, and the other one also organizing through the, vice rectors to find out what would be the networks that would be explored. But for instance, on the consolidation phase, we call it pilot phase, the first phase of EC2U, and consolidation, the second one, through the transition, there was some financing line, so there will be 7 virtual institutes or 8, but so on 3 were financed, the financing for the 4th was foreseen in consolidation phase. There is a split which was with some financing, but some virtual institutes don't have financing lines. So how do you reach researchers and engage them to say that we want to go on a certain direction, for instance, the specific case, life on land or materials and methods, where there are really no resources to go forward, right? So I guess as a challenge, this is really the one of the challenges to do. And obviously there's no specific financing lines to start a research institute in a one way. So how do you kickstart that? So as a challenge. So things, I agree with Ludovic, you know, things can always go better, but I think they've been quite, you know, successful. Obviously, continuing things to do things where there's no financing is always a thing, but the transition is quite coupled. So other things that you didn't mention that were coupled was, for instance, the work on WP5 and Innovation Sphere, that's what we call it, right? Or the Innovation Sphere, where all of this hackathon, and one of the other things of that joined is the lighthouses, the entrepreneurial week that was on consolidation phase that will go on the Innovation Hub on WP9. So it changed WP, it changed leadership, but it, in a way, it plugs in. So not all pieces plug in, but most of them end up plugging in, and there will be financing. So.
Yeah, so we do in order of the work packages, or yeah?
No, I don't want to anticipate something that I will say later on, but I think this is a very basic challenge that the Commission really knows in implementing common databases, mapping, etc. Everybody here knows that I am obsessed by taxonomy, and this was one of the main challenges we had. We are 8 countries, and we don't use the same word to define the same thing. So every time we try to put data together, this was the main issue. And I would say that taxonomy also has I mean, it's not just, you know, a formality. It also brings with it changes in the administrative world of the universities. So I would say that dealing with the changes in the administration of our universities is quite challenging. And convincing the universities that there is, let's say, a benefit in adopting common tools, common taxonomies, common ways to define things, and also to start mapping what we are doing is quite complicated.
Just a short answer for the cooperation with non-academic stakeholders, one of the challenges, because we had quite a few formats that were also approaching, you know, the non-academic world. And I think, especially for the Makeathon, we achieved quite well to address, you know, the outside world, the municipalities and companies, for example, as challenge givers. But we still not yet that satisfied when it comes to participants, citizens acting as participants. So really inviting them in to, but this is really also a cultural shift, not only participation, but that something that is offered by the university is actually something that they can take ownership of, that they can really co-create solutions. That's something new, because so far, you know, offers from the universities are often very one-sided, unidirectional, just, you know, some professor giving a lecture about something. So this is a completely new offer to the citizens. And so far it's not yet that established. So we can, that was a challenge, but we can still, improve, of course.
Yeah, not much to add. Well, we set successful and relevant deliverables, so it's success by on this way. I mean, Ludwig already said it. Eventually, we could. I could get the chance to underline one or two things. Eventually, we could be more effective on the communication. Communication is always an issue. For instance, and I'm talking now on my behalf, on behalf of University of Coimbra. For instance, when he asked, because we have a strong network, we have strong partnerships, and we all engage with each other, and we contribute to every and each work package. But for instance, when we ask for the to the contributions to research centers to this common R&I agenda, or when we ask for the contribution for Lighthouse of Innovations, or when we are asked, and so we must ask internally for different contributions, either for open science or gender issues, whatever. I feel that we can be more effective on communication, not exactly how to do it, but I know you can do better. Answering directly to your point. So I would elect the communication as one point that could be more effective. Not exactly don't have an answer to it, but I think we could spend some more time looking at it to develop some more effective strategies. At least I'm talking on my case. I suppose somehow it can apply to different work packages also. I didn't underline it because I tried to briefly summarize my topics. But one very interesting topic that we had in hand was the human research strategy for researchers. So we are looking for this label certification. We are lucky to be in a consortium where 4 out of 7 are already certified. So we have the experience and the inspiration, let's say this way, of getting supported for those that already have made this path. They know how to do it. We learn how to do it, and we deliver not only a framework, but also a roadmap on how to do it for every institution that is interested to follow this path. So it's a relevant document. And for us, it was directly a relevant opportunity of learning to do different things and to propose to our community of researchers to work and operate under the rules of Code and Charter for Europe researchers. So yes, I think on my case, on our case, that eventually we could go further, and hopefully we are getting the next steps and applying effectively. It was not a deliverable, but we always look at it as a deliverable, as an internal deliverable out of the project, so we can successfully submit an application to this certified level. So yeah, I would elect communication. We can always be more effective on communication, and on our case, eventually move forward under this human research strategy.
Before responding to the other part of your question, maybe we still have our 2 colleagues online. They may wish to... No, Yonel is not anymore. So maybe Yolanda, you would like to say something for the citizen science? And then if Laura is still there, please, Laura, be prepared to maybe share with us some of the challenges that you may have reached.
Yeah, I don't know if my colleague is still online and wants to answer, or I will do that. No? Okay. So within our work package 6, I think that we were quite efficient in succeeding in all our deliverables. But of course, like every other packages, we have some challenges as well. For us, one of the deliverable was to submit projects for each living lab. So we have 3 living labs in total with 3 different thematics, and we were forced to submit the project for each of them. So the main challenge was with the 3rd one, because we have limited time, and in that limited period of time, we didn't have the competition that exactly framework the thematic of our living labs. So we have to think of creative solutions for that. We were able to manage that, but if we had more time at our disposal, I think we could done better so far. So within 2 living labs, we are specifically submitting project directly related to the thematic of the living labs. But for the 3rd one, it was a more general overview depending on the competition that we could find available. So this is the main challenge that we encounter in our work package 6. Thank you.
So is Laura still with us? Yes, I see thumbs up. Yes, Laura, so maybe you can share a few reflections on some challenges that you may have faced in the open science work package.
Thank you. In our work package, I think the greatest challenge is related to the fact that there is a lot of different kinds of open source practices. They are really, many of them are really tied to the field of science. So there is some practices that are people are more aware of, but then there are a lot of really important practices which might be used by really specific group of researchers in the specific field of research. However, these kind of practices, actually, they can be applied also in other fields. So that's why we tried to pick up some of these not so familiar practices and make them more visible in our materials that we created in order to advance also this kind of applying new practices in research that these practices are not maybe widely used at the moment. And this is, of course, every time this is kind of a culture change. So making this culture change is really difficult. So I think this is a really big challenge when we try to advance open science practices within Alliance and also otherwise. And I think we tackled that quite well in the work package. However, now one great challenge is, of course, the creation of new materials and how we continue to share these good practices between different disciplines. And that's why we decided to establish the open science community to help advance that purpose. So hopefully that will continue this great work that we started in the work package. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Now to come back to your second part, so the 4EU for all. So as I explained, so that is better understood by all the alliances that were selected the year before and at the same year as the EC2U, they formed these informal groups where we could have exchange of good practices, but it was actually, although it was informal, it was structured, which is actually not necessarily opposing wording, because we created topical subgroups so that we could have in the different settings more focused discussion. And indeed there was, as Pauline mentioned at some point, there was a subgroup related specifically to the SWAFS project, so basically the same type of project as RI4C2. And so we have worked informally for 4 years, more or less, with all these topical subgroups running in parallel, but all organized on, let's say, volunteering and self-resources. And it happened that this year, in early 2024, there was actually the last call for the last round of alliances under Erasmus. So there was, let's say, a quite large budget for at least 10 more alliances, which will basically now make that there will be about 60 alliances and not more, because there will be no call until I think 27 and 28 or 26 and 27, something like that. And there was actually a subtopic which was called the community of practice under this Erasmus call. So we decided to prepare a proposal, which is basically to take the informal setting into now a formal proposal with the governance, with some work package structures, but basically the idea is to now formalize all the topical subgroups, to also, and that's a novelty, to propose some policy labs where we can actually have a dialogue, a more formalized dialogue between the alliances and policymakers at all levels. And we have a large communication work package where we will organize some workshops and in particular a last very big event where we will showcase all what the alliances have done. So now we are waiting for the results, and they will be known, you mentioned, by the end of June, early July. If so, and if it is selected, basically we will have now resources to have also some urban resources to help us running the 4EU for all. And maybe that's worth being mentioning, all alliances committed to participate either as full partners, therefore directly implementing the running of the project, or associated partner, meaning participating to the activities. And that's really, I would say, a kind of a milestone, because the 50 alliances responded positively, and we committed to include during the grant agreement preparation the new freshly selected last 10. So as soon as we will start, in principle, we should have all alliances on board, and we have 4 stakeholders, let's say, engaged: the European University Association, EUA, we have Erasmus Student Network, ESN, Erasmus Student Union, ESU, and RI4C2, which is another large-scale network related to applied science universities. So there will be our primary stakeholders when it's about spreading the activities to the rest of the higher education area. But of course, with time, we will probably include more and more of these stakeholders. Yeah. So I hope this is responded.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks very much, and good luck, for the proposal, because it sounds really, really interesting. And also thanks very much for sharing, the challenges, the main challenge that you have encountered during this 3-year journey. Of course, I think it is impossible not to come up with challenges during such a short period of time, taking into consideration the big ambition of this kind of project itself, no? It's also very interesting to see that some of the challenges that you have shared are also shared by other alliances, at least, I can tell you about those alliances that I'm more familiar with, which are 13, but some of the challenges that you have shared, other alliances have gone through them as well, yeah? I think it would be, we are very much accustomed to share and to produce good practices reports, but I think it would be very, very interesting to share a challenges report, because, I think that you managed quite well, and you have showed the capacity to address the challenges and to overcome the challenges and to come up with a solution. And that's a good practice itself, and you can learn a lot from that. I mean, of course, we learn from successes, but I think that we learn much more from failures, yeah? Mm-hmm. So it would be great maybe to have a competing of challenges, because that also helps us as Commission, to really identify, to better identify mechanisms in which we could support you in those challenges, yeah? But again, thanks very much for sharing your reflections. And again, what I can say about the RI4C2 is, and also, after the midterm review meeting and the final review assessment, I think it's been a very successful project. And I congratulate you again for that. And keep up with the good work, and good luck with all the, all the plans that you have in mind, and keep pushing and applying for the different funding instruments that we're,